on the next slide, right, we are going to graph the sine function, meaning I'm gonna use for the x coordinates, it'll be the angle measures off of the unit circle, right? So it's going to start at negative pi. It'll go to negative pi over 2, 0, right? These three here will be for pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3. Pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, pi. You know, I'm going to use those as the x values. The y values, how far we go up and down, will be the sine, the y coordinates from the points at those angles. Right, so here are those values, 0, -1, 0. I mean, I'm just taking them off. If some of them are down here because there was not enough space. But I'm also turning them into decimals because somehow I got to know, like, how far am I going to go up to graph that point. So root 2 over 2, I kind of need to know. That's 0.71. That'll tell me I'm going, you know, 0.7, that's 1. So it's, that would have been 0.75, a little bit lower than that. So that's all I'm doing is I'm taking all those values, and if it need be, I'm turning it into a decimal that I can plot. And that's why I just did that, just to show these are the decimal values we will use for specifically root 2 over 2 and root 3 over 2. Okay. So let's get a fatter point there. And some of this stuff, you could actually, instead of using my numbers there, if you've got your unit circle, and I didn't write pi here because actually the graph would get in the way of it. I didn't want to overwrite it, but, well, let me start here. What is the sine of 0? What is the y coordinate at the angle of 0? Look on your unit circle. It's 0, right? It's right up to 0. So I make a point. Okay, now I'm over at pi over 6. What is the y coordinate at the angle of pi over 6? The y coordinate. It's 1/2. Yeah, we call that 1/2. So we go up here, about right there, 1/2. Right, that's halfway between 0 and 1. Okay, what about at pi over 4? What's the y coordinate? Root 2 over 2, which decimal-wise is about 0.71. So I would go about right there. And at pi over 3, it's root 3 over 2. And that would be about 0.85, so it's about right there. Do I have that in a good spot? Not really. It should be more like there. That's okay. And then at pi over 2, the sine is 1. You know, and you could just as easily be using degrees instead of radians. But most of the time when you see a graph, it is in radians. It would be the same graph. Okay. So then we can go along at root 2 over 2. This is back to 0.75 or 0.71. At pi, sine is back to 0. At 3 pi over 4, no, at 5 pi over 4, sine is negative root 2 over 2. So that should be down about this far. At 3 pi over 2, sine is -1, so it's all the way to this. And at 7 pi over 4, negative root 2 over 2, so back to here. And when you get to 2 pi, 0. Now, using negative angles, like we did with that one homework problem, at negative pi over 2, that's like 270 degrees. You're at -1. And at negative pi, right, as a negative angle, it's still the same place as positive pi. It's here. So there are all of our points. And of course, you could connect them with a smooth line, and that would be the graph of a sine function. And I cheated. I already have the graph. And there it is.